very excited about you joining me today in Leading Thru with Billy Island. We're having leadership talks. These leadership talks will come out the first Tuesday of every single month. What I would love for you to do, it would mean the world to me if you would subscribe to our YouTube channel, rate it, review it, make comments. We just want to know how it's helping you in your leadership and what you received out of this content. Well, last month we talked about discovering your values. I believe it is so important, it's paramount in leadership to know what you value. Values are everything when it comes to leadership. Discovering your values is so important because often we don't know or acknowledge our values. Some people just don't know what they value. They don't know what is important to them because values are defined by what drives you within, and values are moral compasses that is precious to you. It's what's important, what matters the most. Again, last month, we talked about discovering your values. What you value has the potential of creating your culture. If you don't like your current surroundings, what you can do is evaluate your values within. Leaders are not just only going places. That's why we must evaluate our values. First, we need to discover our values because leaders aren't only going places, they're taking others with them. They're taking their spouse with them, their children with them. Not only are they taking their spouse and their children with them, you may have a nonprofit, you may have a business, a company, a startup, you may have a church. But in order to take others to a preferred destination or preferred location, you have to have integrity and authenticity. And we need not only just to discover our values, but we also need to develop them. That's what I want to talk about today is developing the values within. Once you discover your values, great. You know what you value. You know what's important to you. The next step is to develop those values within. Values matter in leadership, but developing your values within is a downright game changer. So how do I develop my values within? What do I do? Well, what I would like you to do is constantly keep your values before you. Have you ever went into an organization, a Walmart, a Target? You go into places, and when you go into these organizations, typically they'll have their values written on the walls because they want to constantly keep their values before them. Many people tattoo their values on their forearms, on their chest. Some people use screensavers on their phone. What they value, who they value is on that screensaver. Maybe it's a spouse, their children. Maybe it's their family all together. But it's so important to constantly keep your values before you. Write it down. Write it down again and again. Repetition will reinforce your learning. As a matter of fact, they say repetition increases. When you write it down and you do it repetitively, it increases your memory by 70%. That's pretty good. So if you want to make sure that your values are developed within you, one of the things you want to do is constantly keep your values before you. Not only do you need to write it down, communicate your values continually. Keep it rolling off of your tongue, constantly communicate it. The importance of repetition, it just can't be understated. In fact, it should be repeated on a repetitious stance. You should repeat repetitiously because it's essential. It's a learning aid to repeat something continually. It allows a conscious skill to transfer into someone's subconscious, in your subconscious, freeing you up to keep that constantly before you. It allows you to develop your values. I want to make sure that you get this. You want to constantly keep your values before you, because values that aren't before you eventually becomes undervalued. You undervalue your values by not keeping it before you. It's not constantly spoke. It's not constantly written down. It's not before you. It's so important to constantly keep your values before you. You want to develop your values? Constantly keep your values before you. Another thing I would love for you to do in order to develop the values within is keep people around you that have mutual values. Our inner circle should definitely have mutual core values as ours, people that are around us, people that are in our inner circle. If you want to develop your values within, keep people around you that has mutual values. This helps you being aligned. And this should be intentional. You should do this on purpose. The people that you connect with, you should intentionally keep those people around you, and they should have similar values, mutual values, so that you can get it to a desired destination with authenticity, with truth and transparency. I'm going to tell you like this. The Bible tells us even a minor prophet, and they call him minor because it's a small book, but this guy named Amos, he said, do two people walk together if they have not agreed? Like, are you going to get to that destination with that person if you guys aren't in agreement, if you don't have the same values, if you're not aligned? I can't stress this enough. You don't want to be deceived. Bad company corrupts your character. The people that are around you, no matter what, it begins to deal with your values. It begins to corrode your values, or begin to build your values up. If you show me your surroundings, the people you surround yourself with, I'll determine quickly what your values are. I'll know what your values are by the people that you hang around with. One of our former presidents, Woodrow Wilson, said something simple. Friendships is the only cement that will hold the world together. The only thing that will hold up great values is someone that will be there to keep you accountable for the mutual values that you both embody. So what do I want you to do? I want you to keep your values before you. I also want you to keep people around you that have mutual values. Also, I want you to involve yourself with things that align with your values. Be the mission that others want to be involved in. You embody this mission because of your values. While you're active on your assignment, your values will naturally be embodied with you. You want to get involved in something that aligns with your values. While you are active on your assignment, your values will naturally be embodied. Remember, you are not here on earth only to be active. You're on earth on assignment. God has an assignment for you, driven by your values, developing them within intentionally. What are you doing? You're involving yourself with things that align with your value. You're not wasting your time. Often people are busy, but not about their business. That's not you. We aren't to be like that. You want to be involved with things that matter. Your time matters because your life matters. And that's why developing your values matter. So constantly keep your values before you, keep people around you that have mutual values, and involve yourself with things that align with your values. So often, There are people that donate their time to organizations and places so they can actually help out and make a difference. Like myself, I was an addict about 20 years ago. I was a convict. So what do? I spend time investing, leading people out of addiction. What do? I go to the jails and I go preach the gospel and share the good news with people so they can actually understand that there is hope. Why? Because I want to align myself with things that they matter to me, the things that I value, the things that really are deeply important to me. So you want to get involved with things that align with your values. You want to be in touch with things that align with your values. You want to have people around you that are aligned with your values. You want to speak it, write it, and constantly keep it before you. And last but not least, you need to connect yourself with God. The very power you would need to have this all gel together comes from a higher source. It comes from a higher power. We don't have the ability to remain connected to our values. No matter how much we want to do it, we will be passionately driven by it. We'll even be intentionally driven by our values. But if we don't have the power, we won't be consistent as we should be. We won't be consistent. So hopefully your values are similar to God's. Hopefully the values you have are the values God has. God wants the best for all of us, and he values you and I dearly. Being a person of integrity takes you a long way, and the power of God anchors you. Now, I'm pushing back a little bit here because you may not even believe in God or a higher source or a higher power, but I'm here to tell you the culture will cause you to drift. I remember there was a time, me and my wife, we went to the beach. And when we went to the beach, we laid out our blanket and our towels, and we got all ready to go out in the water, and we put everything on the shore, on the sand, and we went out and got in the water. And as we were in the water, we were having a good time, and we'd been out there for some time, and then I decided to get out of the water. And when I got out of the water, I began to start looking for our things. I was looking for our towel. I was looking for the things that we brought there. And I had to look down the shore, and it was a lot more down the shore than I expected. It was down the way. We had drifted in the water. The current of the ocean, it caused us to shift. And we didn't even know it. It wasn't on purpose. We didn't do anything. We just got in the water. We were having fun. And it reminds me of you and I in this world. In the culture will have a shift, and we won't know it. We'll be having fun. We'll be going to work. We'll be taking care of our business, and it'll cause us to shift because the culture is always shifting. But one thing about having a connection with God, having that connection with God anchors you. It gives you the power you need to be able to not only embody your values, because you're aligned with your values through getting involved with things that is a picture of your values. You're around people, your inner circle. They live out mutual values. You keep your values before you, and that's okay. But the final thing that we want to do is we want to get locked in with God. We want to connect ourselves with God. And this is what I want you to get. Discovering your values is not enough. We want to develop our values within through doing these 4 key practices. And this is what I want you to get. If you don't get anything, I want you to get this. Values matter, but developing your values matter even more, because without developing them, you will only have a picture of what God wants you to do, but you won't actually live that vision out. And God has a great vision for you, a great calling on your life, a great purpose. And I want you to know being a leader in part is about keeping it real. It's hard to stay real in a fake world without connecting with God. Be a learner, be a listener, become a real leader. While becoming a leader Truth, transparency, and trust can make or break your transition. I encourage you, young leader, to keep it real because often that seals the deal. Now remember, we're dropping content the first Tuesday of every month, and I would love for you to share it, rate it, review it, give us comment, give us feedback. We love to hear from you. And get ready. Next month, we're going to dive deeper into some leadership talks because we desire to lead through.